Hello everyone. We're starting a series of lessons dedicated to file uploads. We'll have two types of files, some images and some documents. We'll store images in Cloudinary and documents in Amazon S3. Now, let's start with images. And for now, with uploading a single image. And in the next lesson, we'll handle bulk uploading multiple images at once. This is quite a comprehensive lesson. So, first we need an account on Cloudinary. What does Cloudinary allow us to do? Firstly, we can upload images there, and after uploading, we can get previews in the needed format, cropped in some way. So, for example, our users upload avatars, which can be rectangular or any other shape, but in the end, we need them to be small and square, and Cloudinary will help us with that. Plus, there's a great free period, 25,000 transformations per month. One transformation is, roughly speaking, one avatar, one transformation, and that's per month. So, next month, all the old avatars have already been transformed. Overall, it's very hard to exceed the free period limits. Good. Just create an account as usual, using our email. Remember, don't sign up through social networks. Register separately with a specific email. It will be easier to manage later. Okay, now let's create an account, and when I reach the important part, I'll continue recording. Okay, we've registered, and let's go to the Dashboard tab, and we will need all these values, cloud name, API key, and API secret. We need to add them to the env variables. Some are for the backend, some for the front end. Let's get started. Okay, so let's copy the API key first. These things are needed on the backend. Let's just add them to the env first. So, we need the following things: Cloudinary API key, Cloudinary API secret, Cloudinary cloud name. Okay, our API key is here, like this. Copy the API secret, it's like this. And the cloud name, you can change it or leave it as is. Let's not change it. Save it like this. This is for the backend. Don't forget to add it to env example. And they are secret for us. Secret. Good. So, what do we need to add to the front end? So, in the front end, we need to add Cloudinary cloud name. Our cloud name is like this, saved. And don't forget to add it to env example. Also, with a secret tag. Okay, added here. Now we need to add all of this to the NVDS. So, let's start with the web apps, NVDS. Add it and go to the backend's NVDS. So, in the backend, here are the following characteristics. Let API key and API secret be optional for local development. And then we won't be able to upload images. And that's okay. But cloud name must be mandatory because on the front end, any images will try to set some value to this cloud name. So, we'll make it mandatory and then remove its comment in the env example. So if we comment it, it means it's optional. If we specify it, it's mandatory. Basically, you can reveal the cloud name here, as everyone will see it anyway. All right, let's keep it in the env API example too. Okay, let's share the name of our cloud with the developers. We'll allow that. Okay. All right. Okay. Added to the env files. Why are we going to use Cloudinary now? We will upload the user's avatar. In connection to this, we need to add an avatar field to our backend schema in Prisma. Okay. Let's find the user. Here's our user. Under the name, let's specify avatar. avatar, and here's some string that might be optional. So an optional field. Okay? And we run our migrations. Backend, good. So, what should we name the migration? This is an avatar for the user. This is an avatar for the user. Okay? So, now let's deal with our endpoint. Let's allow the avatars to be uploaded in the main form. Here we'll later add a form element that allows the avatar to be uploaded. After it's uploaded to Cloudinary, we'll get some unique identifier in this form. And by clicking the Update Profile button, we'll send this unique identifier to our server. That is, for you to understand, images will be stored in Cloudinary, and we will only store some strings pointing to these images in Cloudinary in our database. Okay? In this regard, we can play around with the endpoint itself. Update Profile. In the endpoint itself, we see that the actual update user just passes all the entered input. Therefore, in principle, we won't have to touch the code of the endpoint itself, but we do need to change the input. What is the input here? We have an avatar. It's a string. But you can also pass null. Okay, fine. Set the avatar, then move on. Okay? Next, let's deal with the backend part related to uploading images to Cloudinary. For this, we will install the Cloudinary SDK in our backend. All right, and let's start creating an endpoint for obtaining a signed URL for uploading to Cloudinary. Okay, now let's create it and figure out what it actually means. So, we need a new TRPC route. Let's create a separate folder here named Upload and put everything related to upload in it. Okay, Upload. We'll call the folder inside it. Prepare, okay, new folder. Prepare Cloudinary Upload. So this isn't the actual upload yet, but a preparation for it. And let's create an index.ts file and also an input.ts file. Good. Okay, let's first write the index.ts and see how this should work. Not everything we need here is ready yet, but we can still figure it out. Okay? Well, this is a mutation, and it has input. The input is as follows. So let's immediately add an input and also take a look at it. In the input, we simply specify the type of picture we want to upload. We define the picture types ourselves. But for the future, I'll say we have just avatars and pictures. Avatars are avatars, and pictures. Later, we'll add the option to ideas to include some kind of image gallery. And based on the picture type, whether it is an avatar or a regular image, the behavior of our endpoint will change. So, let's return to the endpoint and analyze it. Well, here, since we've made these variables optional, we need to check that we have them. And if not, it's precisely at this endpoint that you'll throw an error. Then we take the description of our upload type from Cloudinary upload types. Well, it seems to pop up everywhere here, so let's just add it right away and address it. Yes, it's all complex, but once we write everything, it will become clear. And eventually, it will be convenient to work with all this and add any other image types later. So, let's put it in shared. Why in shared? Because things related to images are needed, both on the back end and the front end. Cloudinary.ts with the following content. Okay, paste it. Let's see. We need the Cloudinary cloud name, and it can be taken from the front-end environment variables or from the back end. We'll fix this later when we unify our environment variables there. But for now, as we did before, we get the environment variable this way. Then we need, let's say, the base URL in Cloudinary, where our image is stored. They look like this. So it's a link like this. Then our Cloudinary cloud name that we added, and then comes the image upload path. All right. Then we have those types that define how we upload images. Here I have just described their type. These are already the elements of this type. What do we have here? Two types, avatar and image. We specify which folder in Cloudinary to upload to, avatar and images. Then transformation defines how to crop this image during upload and store it in this format. So we upload something original, but in the real Cloudinary folder, the image will be stored already cropped. You can check out this string in the Cloudinary documentation. There are many transformations, but this one will suit us. We say it needs to be cropped to 400 by 400. And if the image was rectangular, kind of tile it into the square so the whole square is somehow covered. Even if the image is smaller than 400 by 400, it will still stretch it to this size. We state that ultimately we want our avatars to be in PNG format. And we mention that, please, prepare for the future that we'll sometimes request these avatars with such cropping. That is, small avatars, for example, somewhere, I don't know, in a list of all users or something like that. And sometimes we'll need large avatars, well, for example, on a user's page. So we just ask beforehand for such a cut for ourselves. But this one, which is big, will be done automatically because there's a transformation. And this we request in advance. And this will give us that when we request the images in this format, it will return them to us very quickly because it has already prepared them. Okay? So that's how we define presets. And with images, the same logic applies. Only now we say that the original image needs to be cropped to a 1000 by 1000 square. But if the image was rectangular, this rectangle needs to be fit into the square. If it remained rectangular and stays rectangular, it just won't be wider than 1000 and not taller than 1000. And since this is a gallery, we'll need some thumbnails of these images. Yes, 200 by 200 pixels is enough. And that's where we'll need to, let's say, fit this picture as well, right? And we can set a small quality for this image, let's say quality 80. So we have this JPEG, hence we can use quality. Accordingly, the images will simply weigh less, right? And when we look at the original picture, again, quality 80 and C-limit, C-fit. What's the difference between C-limit and C-fit? So C-limit indicates that, suppose, we uploaded an image, 8000 by 2000. It'll turn into an image, oh well, let's say 1000 by 2000. It'll turn into an image 1000 by 200. But if we upload an image here, 100 by 20, it will still remain 100 by 20. So we set its limits with this. And CFit means that if we uploaded an image 100 by 20, it will still enlarge to fit within a 200 by 200 square. If we upload a larger image, it will shrink. That's it. That's the difference between CFit and CLimit. Okay? Here's something TypeScript related to mention. What's the difference between doing it like this, Cloudinary cloud types, and specifying, for example, as Cloudinary cloud types, and as it was initially, satisfies Cloudinary cloud types? Look, if I use satisfies and I look at Cloudinary cloud types, I see there's literally the avatar key, the image key, and here the presets small and big, and here preview and large. So it's complete, an intelligent type. If I use as, then I have much less information about this type. Yes, I know it's some kind of object where the keys are strings, avatar, and image, but we don't know it's specifically avatar and image. And there is Cloudinary upload type, where presets can be anything. There. Satisfies checks that this type corresponds to this type, but still specifies the final type of this one. If, for example, I take and rename the folder to 1 here, it won't let me do that. So, it still checks types. And this notation is essentially equivalent to appending as at the end. There. There's a thing called satisfies, and here it's very convenient for us to take exactly the correct keys from our object. Alright, so, then various type helpers. We can figure them out when we apply them. And we have the getCloudInary function. It takes a public ID. All uploaded images in Cloudinary have some unique public ID. It accepts a type name. What is this type name? Cloudinary type names. Cloudinary type names are Cloudinary upload types. Cloudinary upload types are literally this thing. All right? So we need to extract the keys from this thing, from this object. That's it. Accordingly, in this Cloudinary type name, we can only have avatar or only image. If we add another type, it will be some other image type. All right? And preset name. Well, for images, it will be preview and large. For avatars, it will be small and big. There you go. It's taken using this helper we created. We pass the type name here, which extends the type names, and we return keys from Cloudinary type. Type name. Here it will be an image or avatar, and we take the preset. So, when we call this function, getCloudInaryUpload URL, we won't be able to make a typo and show some wrong type. Once again, when we apply it, we'll see how it works. So, well, the work itself is as follows. We've pulled the type. Now we have a type. It's something from this, meaning it will be either this or this, because we extracted this by the corresponding key. Then we get the preset. From this type, we take presets, and we pass the preset name into this function. So, for example, we took image and here preview. That's it. This is what the preset looks like. And we need to build the URL. Here's our Cloudinary URL. It's like this. Next, you need to append this very preset. Only in the preset, we have such a string stored here already. And then you need to append the public ID itself. And we'll get the picture we need, just a link to it. You can insert it somewhere on the front end and use it like this. Let's make a small wrapper to specifically get the avatar. It might be that the user has no avatar, or maybe they do. Typically, you should always show at least some avatar. That's why we're doing this setup. The function has fewer parameters. Also, public ID, but no need to specify type name, because we know it's going to be an avatar. And the preset needs to be passed, after all. Some kind of avatar preset, small or big, right? And if there's a public ID, that is, we've passed a user with an avatar. If there is, we take this very function and call it public ID avatar type preset passed here. And if there wasn't an avatar, then we fall back, requesting the preset avatar with the avatar placeholder. But for this, we'll need to manually upload some kind of avatar placeholder there. Well, we'll find an image on the internet where there's some figure on a gray background. This will be the avatar for everyone without one. That's it. And we'll return it. That's how our helper will work. Okay? We went through the Cloudinary TS file in the shared folder, and we can return to reviewing the endpoint on the backend. All right? So now we know that our upload type is some kind of any. All right? He's wrong. Hold on. Cloudinary upload types doesn't want. Where are they? In shared. Hold on. Let's restart the TypeScript server so it doesn't lag, and we see that the input type is somehow any. All right. We need to sort out the inputs here. Here's the situation. We need to pass the type, and the type should be either avatar or image, and we need to somehow get the keys of this marker. Theoretically, we could make the keys of this object. So we could do something like this. Object case, Cloudinary, upload types. But it will complain that the types don't match, because the object case returns the following type. For example, type X equals object type of. Now, let's do it. See what's the difference. Case, type of case. And we see that it's just some array and string. But we need specific types here, and it's inconvenient. And this is basically inconvenient in TypeScript. We need to actually get a set of keys from this object so that they are directly as an array, and then the types will match. And for this, we need to write a very scary helper. Let's write it. going to shared again, and we create getCaseAsArray.ts done. What a nightmare. All we wanted was to get the keys. So, from the function's perspective, we pass some object here, call low-case, and get an array of keys, but in terms of types. Here, absolutely. There's even some pretty scary TypeScript inference here. Honestly, I'm not in a position to explain this right now, and I'll admit, I don't really understand how it works myself. Here's a link to an article. You can basically read why it is all set up this way. But in practice, we just need a function that will return the array keys with the correct type. That's it. We write it, forget it, and reuse it. Let's apply this and make sure it works. So, let's go to the input.ts file. Okay? All right. Now let's see. Const x equals getCaseAsArray. And now we see that x is the array we need. That's all. The main thing is we've got this. And now our index.ts shouldn't have any type issues. That's all. And we see that our upload type is something from this. Good. We've got it. Setting the timestamp. Well, it's just the current time in the format we need. We define the folder based on upload type, but it will be either avatars or image, depending on what type we initially passed in input. Transformation. Again, this initial transformation is taken from the upload type. Then, in Cloudinary, it's called IGR. That is, to set the presets we need so it can pre-cut the images the right way. They need to be passed using this kind of vertical bar. So we just take keys from the preset and connect these strings with a vertical bar. Okay, we've got IGR. Then using the Cloudinary SDK, which we've imported in this format, we call the API sign request function. We pass our time step, folder, transformation, and IGR, and our API secret. In this way, we create a signature, and on the front end, we return such an object. That is, we passed our pre-created values once again, passed the API key of our Cloudinary, and passed the signature, and passed a certain URL. After our front end receives this, there will be a button, Select File, on the front end. He selects a file from his computer, clicks Upload, and at that moment, it will send a request to this URL, passing as parameters that he wants to upload an image to a certain folder with such a transformation, with certain presets. So, and he will also pass there the signature and API key. What will it give him? It will give him the right, in principle, to upload such a picture. Technically, he could take yes and get this URL, know our API key, and try to upload the picture to some other folder, yes, or with some other transformations. But he won't know our very secret signature, which was encrypted with a very secret API secret. So, and since his signature won't match for these parameters, Cloudinary will not allow him to do it. Accordingly, he can only upload to the folder preset by us, with the transformations preset by us, and so on, because we only granted him permission for exactly such an upload. So, that's the idea. Why can't we directly upload a file to our server? Why should we load our server? The files aren't even sent to our server. They are only sent to Cloudinary based on the parameters we predefined. All right, here is our Prepare Cloudinary upload. Once we integrate it into the front end, it will become clearer. Okay? Now let's create a form element on the front end that will accept our images and upload them to Cloudinary. And in our formic, let's store this unique string that identifies the image. This is its public ID. Okay? we're creating a folder for upload to Cloudinary in components, creating index.tsx here, and immediately the style in index.module.css. Okay, now our code will be like this. Let's take it apart slowly. First, we need to add our route on the backend in index.ts. Generate. Okay, and now look, the code is divided into two parts, the form component and hook. The hook is extracted into a separate variable because we'll need it elsewhere as well. For example, in the next lesson, we'll perform a bulk image upload and we'll use the same hook. Let's analyze. The start of the component is the same. Well, there's also a label. There's a name. In our form, it's formic itself. Type. Now, type is those Cloudinary types that we set in the Cloudinary Node.js file in shard. That is, either avatar or image, right? And preset. But we need the preset here to show a preview of the uploaded file. So we indicate it here as well. That's it. And this thing becomes quite universal. That is, we can upload images of any type and show previews from any preset. Good. Next, in principle, a familiar construct. We take and get the value. That is, for comparison, yes, you can see how it's done in input. We got the value similarly. Error. We touched it, whether it's valid or not, and whether the form is disabled. Everything is the same here. Next, things related to file uploading begin. So, let's go in this order. First, let's deal with JSX. What do we have here? We have something with the field class. And with the disabled class, if the form should be disabled, then we use the HTML input element. With a type file, like this input, it has some design there, but it has the default browser design, and we don't need it. Therefore, at the CSS styles level, we will hide this file input. It will be invisible. We will see only our beautiful button that can be clicked. For this, we created a ref on the input element, and the reference to this HTML element will be used. And therefore, later, when we click on the upload button, it will simply programmatically trigger a click on this HTML input. And thanks to this, it will show this is the file selection window. Good. Then what will happen? At the moment, when a person selects a file, onChange will be triggered. Here we set our loading. We separated loading here. It's specifically for the file. We set loading to true. Then, we check if they selected everything correctly, and if there are selected files. Here. It always comes as an array, but since we didn't specify that this input can be multiple, there will always be only one file in the first element of the array. So we took this file and called the upload to Cloudinary function. Now we'll analyze it. It's described here. All right, so we've uploaded it somehow. A public ID should be returned to us, and that's it. And we assign the public ID of this file to our formic in the name of this input, just like we did in this input. onChange, set field value, name, and here we just assign the value input. Here, it's the same, but we assign the public ID there. If there was an error, we'll indicate it in the console, and set field error will specify the error in case Cloudinary returns some error there. Here, and then we'll mark our field in any case. That is, finally works after any scenario, whether after an error or after success. We'll mark that our field was touched, here, and stop loading. Also, in our this HTML input element, reset the current file value. This is necessary, because if a person tries to upload a file with the same name again, the onChange won't trigger there. Here we just clear it out. Right? This needs to be written just to avoid any unpleasant behaviors later. Okay? Now we'll analyze some more JSX. Then we'll move on to this upload to Cloudinary and take a look at it. All right, this input, it works, but it's invisible. Then we have a label for the input. It describes what it is, like it will say avatar there, right? Then, if we have a value in Formic and there's no loading, we need to show a preview. In the preview, it's just an image with src. This is get Cloudinary upload URL. We've already covered this function. It's just a link to our uploaded image with the exact preset we set when declaring this input. All right, and with the corresponding type. The value is the uploaded image's value. Now, let's deal with the buttons. We have buttons here. And the button, let's say, well, in any case, there's an upload button. Sometimes it might be called upload another. So if something is already uploaded, let it say upload another. And if nothing is uploaded, the button says upload. That's it. And here we have our beautiful button itself, which will trigger our HTML input element on click, right? And from it, we also pass the loading or disabled color and so on, right? We need to adjust this component now. It is not ready to accept type yet. It always assumes it's a submit. But this element will be inside the form, and the button should not be submit. Because if it's submit and we click it, the form will be sent with a profile update. But we need to upload an image, not send the form. And we need to submit the form only when we've already uploaded the picture. So now let's fix this button. But for now, let's see what's next here. And then, if we have an uploaded picture, that is, if the value is not empty and not loading, we also need to add the remove button. Yes, that is, well, delete this avatar and let it not be displayed at all. Well, it's all simple here. That is, we just reset the field value to null. If there was an error, we clear it, and also mark this input as touched. Good. So, let's tidy up the button so that types don't complain and everything works. So what changes will we have here? Well, firstly, the type appeared. We'll add it to button props after color. Okay, type. Well, we actually want to have the option to pass it or not. And for now, let it be only button and submit, with submit as the default, so we don't have to rewrite all the files right now. So, submit by default. Good. Then, we also need to determine if it's disabled ourselves. Right now, disabled is determined only based on loading, but we want to add the ability to manually set disabled. Okay? So, disabled is a Boolean. You can pass it or not. Disabled. So, we put the type here, and it should be disabled if disabled, or if loading. All right? And the same goes for classes. Need disabled if disabled, or if loading. So we also have the onClick property that appeared here. It wasn't there before, so it needs to be allowed to pass as well. Passing onClick here. Put onClick here. OnClick. If it's there, it will work. So it seems like it should work this way. Good. So, and here a buttons component has appeared. Also, a very popular feature. You often might need not just one button somewhere, but several buttons in a row. And there should be styles responsible for the gaps between these buttons. Therefore, let's also create a buttons component. So in button, we'll just export buttons. But we also need styles for these buttons. All right, let's leave it like this. Yes. We simply shifted all the buttons 5 pixels to the left and added a 5-pixel shift to each button. Oops, 5 pixels to the right. Here we gave a negative to the right, and here each one has a +5. Here, ways to set a gap and a bunch of displays. Flex displays with a gap can be done like this. Everything except not last child margin right, and then this won't be needed. But there's a problem. If there are too many buttons in a row, and they are distributed across two, there are a lot of nuances, but that's for layout. Let's leave it like this. Okay. So now our component doesn't complain about anything, but we still need to give it styles to make it work. Let's set the styles. There's nothing particularly noteworthy in the styles. Here, well, we made our input display none, right? To not show the default and define some styles for our preview. Everything else we inherited from input. Great. Now let's integrate our component somewhere and see how it works. But before we do that, let's discuss the useUpload to Cloudinary function. It's our hook that returns a function which, when invoked, will upload a file. Let's take a look at it. We retrieve our prepare Cloudinary upload mutation. We declare our function, return it. Let's see what's inside this function. This function takes a file as input. Where does the file come from? The file will come when we click the upload button and select a file, and that's how we'll have a chosen file to pass here. All right, so we pass the file and immediately trigger our mutation, simply passing the type. Where does the type come from? We passed the type here when we declared this component somewhere and accordingly passed it to useUpload to Cloudinary. Thanks to this, from the backend we got our prepared data back in order to allow the user to upload to Cloudinary. And we need to send the request to Cloudinary itself using this URL. To this URL. Okay, how to pass the data there? We just use native fetch, browser-based, specify the URL, specify the post method, and we need to pass the data in the body in this format. Data is sent in different ways. Cloudinary wants us to send it this way. That's what this form data is for. There's nothing smart about it. It's just a way to send data in post parameters. You can also check this in the Cloudinary documentation. This form data is also a native browser feature. All right, and here we just list our items. We specify that the file is our file, and the other parameters are those provided by our backend. We just pass these things from prepared data into the form. Okay? And sent this form there. So, from the backend, we received all data except for the actual file. We combined all this data and sent it to Cloudinary. Here, Cloudinary returns something to us. We parse the JSON. There it is. An error can be present in both the error and the response. If there's an error, we simply throw an error here. If we throw an error here, then an error will occur here, and the error message will go to our form. If there was no error, then the response will contain the public ID. Cloudinary will return this public ID to us. Then we will return this public ID and the response to debug it if needed. The main thing is that we received the public ID from Cloudinary. And then we use it right here. We've got the public ID. We insert it into the form. Like this. It works like this. Now let's try to insert this component somewhere. Okay? We uploaded an avatar. Let's upload the avatar then. Where do we upload the avatar? On the Edit Profile page. Pages. Us. Edit Profile. All right. We had a nickname. Name here. Let's also add the Cloudinary upload. Okay. We'll have a label. Avatar. Name will be avatar. All right. And don't forget, we decided to specify the type and preset there. Type avatar. These are the types, as I remind you. that we defined in the shard folder in Cloudinary. So it's one of these types, either avatar or image. By specifying the avatar type, we are allowed to specify only the correct presets. All right. We didn't import it. Okay. Now we press the preset and see that it's either big or small. This is because we set the correct types. And if we specified an image here, we'd already be getting type errors for the presets, because presets can only be large or preview. That's why it's great when types are well defined. And we need to pass formic here. Okay? Let's look at the form itself. Do we need to change anything in the form? Yes. Right. Initial values complains that we didn't pass the avatar here. Avatar me.avatar. But we also have a small issue here. In our me, the avatar is not returned because we need to update our toClientMe function so that it also returns the avatar. Avatar. Good. Okay. Now the types aren't complaining, and we can go check how it works. Okay. We ran out of variables. We added some new variable. Good. Let's use it. So we need to add a lighter gray to the style variables. All right. Added. Now we have something between backend and frontend. diff. Backend is running. Frontend is working. Refreshing the page. There, we see an upload button appeared. Check it. When I click on it, an input is triggered under the hood with selection of files. Let's choose some image. We see that the button is loading. An endpoint prepare upload was triggered under the hood, and then a post request was sent. You can take a look. The post request to Cloudinary. Here in our cloud with this payload. Here is our form data, which we passed with already specified parameters, which returned a lot to us, but including the public ID, which is actually what we need for the form. We put this public ID in the formic form value, and thanks to this, we were able to get this square with the getUpload Cloudinary URL function. And here are our cool buttons. We can choose upload another, specify a different image. That's it, just as we wanted. The button is loading. The image was uploaded. It appeared to us. We can delete it. The image was deleted. We can upload it again. But what's important to understand is that at this stage, we only upload it to Cloudinary. And now our database doesn't know that the person uploaded this avatar. Therefore, the user needs to click Update Profile. And then the necessary data is sent to the backend. Here it is. Again, we can see that we just invoked the Update Profile function, and we already passed our avatar to it. Here it is. This is its public ID in Cloudinary. That's how avatar uploading works. Good. If we reload the page, we'll see that our user loads correctly, and we see their avatar. Now let's display this avatar where other users need to see it. Okay. Well, let's add the avatar. Here, we actually have an idea uploaded by the admin. Yes, so I want a profile picture to be displayed on the idea page. Let's go to the View ID page. And we have the author here. Currently, the author looks like this, but will look like this. Everything complains. Author, author. Good. So we take the getAvatar.url function that we set, yes, which under the hood uses the same getCloudinary.upload.url as the file preview. And then we take the author from the idea and their avatar. but our endpoint still doesn't return avatars, so we need to fix it. Oh, where is our stub? So, we also need the avatar. Okay, the avatar appeared. We are saying that we need a small avatar here. And this basically remains as it was. This will just be the name of this author. Okay, but we also need to play with the styles. Let's go. In style, we find the author, and the styles become the following. All right, let's see. Here it is. Well, this is the design. We made a round avatar, and you can round it. We rounded it with CSS properties. You can even round it through Cloudinary presets. I mean, why bother? It's better to use CSS for rounding. All right. Now let's look at the idea created by a person without an avatar. And as we can see, there's nothing here because we didn't upload an avatar placeholder to the folder. In this regard, we need to find some default picture with an avatar and upload it to our Cloudinary. I'll go download some picture and come back to you. Okay, so I downloaded this picture, and now I need to upload it to our Cloudinary, but with a public ID set by me personally. Let's find the right place in Cloudinary. Here is a media explorer that lets you see everything you've uploaded. These images were initially uploaded by itself, but we want to upload something as an avatar. We go to the avatars, see our uploaded images, and do the upload. So, here's the avatar placeholder. Okay. Yeah. And now we need to edit it so that the public ID is what we need. Opening. The public ID, we're allowed to edit it. Avatar placeholder safe. Uh-huh. Good. Well, it should work in theory now. Let's go to our idea, refresh the page. And nothing works. Avatar placeholder. Checking to make sure we've specified it correctly here. So, avatar placeholder. Yes, correctly indicated here. Good. What are other options why it might not find it? One moment. All right, fine. We uploaded the avatar and we can view the original URL here at the bottom of this page. Why did you put some kind of V here and so on? Well, never mind. Let's use it like this. So, we can copy this entry or click here to open in a new window and see in this URL that it seems to have a public ID like this. Okay, we just take this and insert this entry in the getAvatarURL function. All right, this will be a fixed URL. And now on the profile page, for users without avatars, we see this. For users with avatars, we see their avatar. So that's good. There's one last thing to do. Now, when we call the prepareUpload URL mutation, some sensitive data ends up in the logs, which we'd like to keep out of the logs. And for that, we need to tidy up the signature and API key. Well, I don't want them in the logs, but we already have everything ready for this. Let's go to the logger, and we tweak our method a bit for formatting logs. Let's just say we don't want to see API keys here, and we do want to see signatures here. So let's check we didn't make a typo. Everything works. Uploading an image. That's all, and we see that our signature and API key are not specified. That's all. Good job. We've implemented avatar uploads. It will get easier. Now we will implement bulk image upload, but much will be reused from this lesson. That's all. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.